Welcome to WVTC TV Network, capturing family moments in real time, bringing families closer together from the comforts of home. We are unleashing something different to the world. Start your subscription today for the low price of $4.99 per month or $55 annually. Go to www.wvtctvnetwork.com to sign up today. WVTC TV Network is streaming live on 8 different platforms. You can easily download the WVTC TV Network app on the Apple Store, Play Store, Roku, Fire TV, and more. Here at WVTC TV, we have access to movies that everyone can enjoy, including independent films, Sons of a Preacher and a Good Thing, Treasures of Life, the epic drama, The Passion of the Christ, and the box office hit Madagascar Escape to Africa. Remember, go to www.wvtctvnetwork.com and sign up today.
Hi there, fam. Welcome back to You Plant, We Water, where we dive deep into the world of love, connection, and thriving relationships. Remember, here in this part of the world, we are connecting our faith with our mental health, all in an effort to enhance relationship satisfaction and our overall sense of wellness and life, right? I am your girl, Dr. T. Flowers, licensed professional marriage and family counselor and professor of counseling with a doctorate in counseling. And so I am here to share my limited expertise and knowledge with you in the hopes that it will help as you water yourself here on You Plant, We Water. And again, my special guest and co-host is none other than Trisha Flowers, who I also affectionately get to call my sister.
Hello, everyone.
Yes. So welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, you all. So today I am really excited about the topic because we are talking about common communication barriers and how to overcome them in your romantic relationship. This is so essential. I would say I was 98.999% of all of the work I do is couples coming in about communication problems. So much so that there's a joke, not a joke, but something we say amongst ourselves as therapists. And that is that every couple you see, no matter what the real issue is, they're going to come in and the first thing they're going to tell you is it's a communication issue. Because technically it is, but we call it the common cold of relationships. That's how prevalent it is. But this saying there's a communication issue usually is what feels most comfortable for the couple to say. And underneath that, you find everything. Communication problem because there's infidelity. Communication problem because there's abuse. Communication problem because there's financial troubles. Communication problem because there's been a death. But it's always couched in the term, we're just having a communication problem. Okay. So we are going to figure out what are some of the barriers to communication? How can we overcome them? What do we see commonly? And Trisha, who's here to co-host, is going to help me out by sharing some of her insights from people she may know. We may bring up movie characters, YouTube clips, things we've seen on social media, anything that's relevant. And also by kind of maybe asking me some questions that we think, what I would say, non-therapists or clinicians might want to know. All right, so let's dive in. Communication in couples. Okay. Trisha, do you have any thoughts about what type of things you want me to start about? Maybe what kind of things you think couples struggle to communicate about? Or barriers to communication? What gets in the way of good communication?
So I think from the limited, because I'm the non-therapist,
Which
okay?
is beautiful.
I think the number one thing is just their differences, right? And they come into play. So somebody could be very vocal.
Yes.
Someone else may not be as vocal. Someone could have just their mannerisms could be taken as aggressive, and that may make the other person shut down. So there's a lot of nonverbal things that occur that create stress and an issue in communication. That's what I've seen.
You are spot on. Before I share some other pieces, I want to highlight what you said about nonverbal. So what I train my students who are learning to be counselors, and this is research, that's not just something I say, it's the fact. 80% of all of our communication is nonverbal. It's not what you say, it's the body language, the tone of voice, the inflection. So I often use the word what. I can say it 3 different ways and it has a different meaning. I could say what, and oh, she just didn't hear me. I could say what, and I'm upset. Or I could say what, and I'm hurt. It's nonverbal. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. So I'm glad you mentioned that. I think also another barrier to communicating with your loved one is wanting to win, right? Because when we want to win, we're not listening for understanding. We're just thinking, sometimes we're even thinking, what am I going to say next, right? While they're talking, you're like, I can't wait till they stop talking so I could say blah, blah, and blah, which means you haven't actually heard them. And this is saying, I think it's in karate. I don't know martial arts, so I'm already messing up. But what I do, they do this where you have to cover your power before you fight.
Yes.
In a couple relationship, you have to cover your power. The only way to win is to lose. You have to give up trying to win the argument and focus on hearing the other person. And that's how you're going to win in the end. So you got to cover your power. Win, lose to win, right? So I think that's another one. Anything else you want to say maybe about common communication barriers before we start talking about solutions and questions and things like that?
I really do think the majority of it is your background. So your family of origin dictates a lot of how you're going to communicate, because that's your example. And so if you come from a more closed off family, you're maybe not as vocal.
Yeah.
But if you come from a family that's very communicative, like we are,
clearly we on a talk show. No.
You want to express yourself. So I can say personally for myself, if I don't feel like I'm being heard, then you're going to have that same energy reciprocated back. So now I'm shut down. I don't know what you're saying, and I don't value anything else, because now I feel like we're not listening to each other. So that's me personally.
Exactly. And that's a great example, right? And if we think back, so we've covered a couple topics thus far. We talked about the 5 love languages. Hopefully you'll be able to see how that blends in with communication. And we've also talked about when to go for spiritual religious counseling versus mental health counseling. So it's all interconnected. And so we have all of those pieces, differences in upbringing, different communication styles, wanting to win and not listening for understanding. And the one elephant in the room that I want to mention that we haven't mentioned yet is hurt, right? Nobody can hurt you like your romantic partner can, right? Because you tried to be vulnerable and open yourself up. And so it's even just that I used that word what, and I said it 3 different ways. Just one way of saying it could cause so much hurt that either you're trying to hurt them back, you've checked out, any of those things. So these are all some of the barriers, as well as I would say, just not knowing how to communicate, right? Never having thought about it, never having heard about any of these things. I know by going to school, and learning about how to help other people do this, it helped me. And I would be sitting in my class thinking, ooh, I do that. Ooh, I do that too. And what I want everyone out there listening to us to know is you'll never be perfect at it. I literally get paid to help people communicate. And I still have communication problems myself. I still fall into the same traps and pitfalls that everybody else does. The only thing is sometimes I'll catch myself and be like, am I being defensive? I think I am being defensive. And then I'll try to correct. But sometimes I don't, because sometimes I'm all the way in my feelings. Like, I don't care if I'm being defensive. I'm going to do that. Right? So I want everybody to know we've all been there. What can we do about it? Okay. So what I want to highlight, there's a guy named Dr. Gottman. It's actually Doctors Gottman and Gottman, a husband and wife team. And I think I maybe never talked about them, but they observed like 10,000 couples, thriving couples. That means people who are having really good relationships. And I forgot what they called the couples disasters. That's what they called them.
Okay,
disasters. And they observed them, watching them interact for hours just to see what was the difference. What were the thriving couples doing that the disaster couples weren't doing? And out of that was birthed this intervention or idea about communication called the 4 Horsemen. This is biblical. They took it from the Bible, the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, but they made it the 4 Horsemen that are connected with communication. So I'm going to share them with you because the 4 Horsemen are deadly. Okay. They are going to mess up your communication with your partner. The first horseman, and you all know I'll be forgetting when I got to list things out, but the first horseman is criticism. So what I want to remind you is, again, no matter how good a communicator you are, when you're under distress, you're going to go to one of these 4 horsemen. And most of us have 1 or 2 that is our primary go-to, right? But you could do all of them. But one of them is criticism. And what do we mean by criticism? You're never going to agree with everything that your partner does, especially if you're living together and for years. You're going to have a complaint. A complaint is okay, right? For instance, I love to not see dishes in the sink. So I ask everybody in my house, when you have a dirty dish, just rinse it, put it directly in a dishwasher. Okay. So let's say my partner doesn't do that. It's okay to have a complaint and be like, hey, babe, could you put the dishes in the dishwasher? It really helps me out and makes me feel good. That's a complaint. A criticism is, you lazy. It don't take nothing but 2 seconds to take it from there to there. You see how I'm critiquing, I'm criticizing them. I'm making it about their character. That's the first one. What we want to do instead, I love this, for every horseman, there's the what you shouldn't do, and they have the antidote, the cure to the poison. So I just hinted to you. You want to lodge your complaint. You don't want to criticize. You just want to share the complaint without attacking the character. And you pretty much know you're attacking the character when you say you anything, you blah, 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 right? If you start with I, if you remember my first example, I say, I really feel good when the dishes are in the dishwasher. Making sense?
Yes, but challenging, but making sense.
Yes, it is very challenging. 4 horsemen number 2 is defensiveness, right? So imagine the same example. Hey, can you put the dishes in this dishwasher? I really love that. And when I say that to my partner, they say, well, you don't vacuum. You see what just happened? They're just defensive. They're not hearing anything. They're just bringing up another topic, right? Because they're on the defense. This is something that we often do. So I'm going to lodge my complaint because you're lodging a complaint. And so what we want to do instead, the antidote to defensiveness, is to take responsibility. So if your partner says, hey, remember I asked to put those dishes in the dishwasher, I noticed this week you haven't been doing it. First, you take responsibility. You're right. I forgot all about that. And let's say you don't want to put them in there. You can say that. It doesn't mean you have to agree. You can say, I don't like putting the dishes in it, but you first take responsibility. You're right. I haven't been doing it because I don't think we should put them in there, or I think we should soak them overnight, or whatever, or I'll do better. So that's defensiveness. The anecdote is taking responsibility. The third one is contempt. I hear you, Latrice. Me too. The third one is contempt. This one is really toxic and very poisonous to a love relationship. Contempt has been called battery acid to the love relationship. That's how tough contempt is. And contempt is when we show a level of disrespect and disregard for our partner. So it's beyond criticism. It could be communicated in statements that are meant to put your partner down or demean them, eye rolls, right? Things like that. But contempt is this, you never do anything right. You're so dumb. Or instead of just, you didn't put the dishes in the dishwasher and you're like, right? You can feel that almost like a bubbling hatred. So what we want to do with the cure or the antidote to contempt is admiration. We want to focus on what we love about our partner. And if you've fallen into contempt, you have to do this all day. You don't just wait till they're getting on your nerves because you're still gonna eye roll, right? But all day you have to think about, oh yeah, they I don't know, they do talk too much, but I love how sweet they are. I love that dinner is always ready. And be thinking about those things to help counteract the contempt. And the last of the 4 horsemen is stonewalling. Stonewalling is when we shut down and become a stone wall during the communication, right? You check out. Sometimes the person physically gets up and leaves the room. Sometimes they stay there, but the lights are out. They're not, you can tell they're no longer listening to you. And so what we want to do instead of stonewalling is take a break. Sometimes there is such a thing as called being emotionally flooded. And when you're emotionally flooded, you can't think rationally anymore anyway. So who knows what you'll say. But what you need to do, you can't just check out, because what that signals to your partner is abandonment. So instead, you tell them, I need to take a break. And if you're the one who shut down, it's your responsibility to give them an actual time of when you're going to resume. And it ain't a week from now. This isn't a way to avoid the conflict. It's just saying, you know what? I'm overwhelmed. I'm flooded. I need a break. I'm going to go for a walk. Give me 10 minutes, or let's resume in 20 minutes, and let your partner say, okay. And then if you shut down, you go back and resume. You're the one who needed the break. You go back and say, are you ready? And that counteracts this feeling of being abandoned or rejected by the stonewalling. So those are the 4 horsemen. They're highlighting common barriers that we have and how to do better with them. What I ask my clients to do is to write them down and then honestly rank themselves. Which one do they use the most often, right? 1, 2, 3, and 4. I go to this one most, this one, that. And then, I'll tell all of everyone listening, next week, I just want you to think about when you're communicating, when you went to that 4 horsemen, you could have, I was ready to criticize, but for whatever reason, you didn't. Give yourself credit for that and just keep building from there. Trisha, thoughts, anything coming up, anything you want to add, share, questions, anything like that?
I've been guilty of all of them. As we were going through, I'm like, ooh, I do that. When I do that, I definitely do this one. And so I was taking inventory of what you were saying.
Yes.
And my number one go-to,
yeah,
I hate to say it, but I'll stonewall you. I'll look right at you, and I'm not listening to anything. You know this about me, right? Because I'm just ready to escape.
Yes.
And so I will be more accountable, and I will say, hey, I need a moment, versus just my natural defense is to just shut down. And I'm like, I'm done.
I love that, right? And what you don't want to do, I'm the founder. What you don't want to do is, what am I trying to say? When you're shutting down, you don't want to guilt yourself or anything like that. And it's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. We all are going to shut down at some point. So just saying that, hey, I need a break, I need a moment, is a wonderful thing to do and a great signal. Sometimes what we'll also see, though, is you might be doing multiple horsemen at the same time, right? Ooh. So you might be rolling your eyes and shutting down. So now you're doing contempt, right? And then when you finally say something because you didn't take a break, it might say, you big dummy, right? So you just boom, 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 hit them all. But you can always reset. So thanks for your vulnerability and sharing what yours is. Mine was, but I have gotten better just because of this. But if pushed in the corner, it's gonna come out. I'll go to criticism. I'll get you. Like, oh, I'll get you. So I have to remind myself, don't criticize, just say my complaint, right? Yes, there it is. Egos are very hard to let go, big time, right? Especially in the heat of disagreement, because you might feel attacked, or you might feel invalidated or unheard. And so the last thing you want to do is feel like, can I take a break? I know sometimes I say, you want to go? But then I'm like, no, that's the wrong thing. So these are some communication pieces. I've shared kind of what you do and how do you know, what happens when you get in conflict. I also want to share something that is proactive that you do before you ever even fall out. And this is called the stress reducing conversation. And if you go and see a counselor, they will work with you. There's actual steps 1, 2, 3, 4. We practice it in session. So if you're interested, visit our page, You Plant, We Water. I'm happy to provide counseling to you and we'll go over this. But the point of the stress reducing conversation is to kind of work myself out of a job, right? I teach the couples how to actively listen and validate and empathize with their partner. And here's the key, not rush into problem solving, right? So when you see a counselor, they're never going to solve the problem for you. They're just going to keep listening, reflecting till you come up with your conclusion. In love relationships, you know, your partner comes home and says, I had a rough day at work. You'd be like, well, why don't you do this? What happened? Yes, you solved it, but you didn't. They want to be heard. So in the stress reducing conversation, we teach you how to hear. Your partner says, I had a rough day at work. You say, what happened? Blah, blah, blah. You know, my boss is always on my case. Second part of the stress reducing conversation. I'm not giving you all everything. So you would want to see a counselor. But another big piece of it is to always take your partner's side during a stress reducing conversation. I don't care if your partner is a jerk and you know they've been messing up at work. When they say my boss is on my back during this time of stress reducing conversation, you say, your boss is tripping. Right? This isn't the time to correct them and let them know, well, you know, you don't be really doing it. Don't you always leave 30 minutes early? Not during this time. During this time, you're on their side. And what happens is it creates this thing that we call in our field, we-ness, W-E-ness, your we-ness, because I got your back. Yes, your boss do be tripping, right? And in that, what you say then is you just continue the conversation. And I used to do this all the time, so much so that when someone was coming after one of us in the couple relationship, we created a term, jive, turkey, suck a fool. Jive, turkey, suck a fool. So if you come in and was like, my boss is on my case, I'll be like, oh, that jive, turkey, suck a fool, right? Then you know I'm on your team. And maybe tomorrow I'll let you know, like, I think it's because you haven't been doing your work, but not during the stress reducing conversation.
I love that.
Okay. So it's very proactive and it helps to build the bond, which helps with contempt and all the other things. So we are, you know, getting there. So I want to pause. I've shared a couple of thoughts, see what any questions, things that people might be curious about, either from the chat or, I don't know, Trisha, if there's anything you might want to add or say or ask.
Well, I do want to say this.
Yeah.
I want everyone to know that the information that she's giving to you guys is priceless. It costs a lot of money. So we're asking you guys to get out there and share this information because she's doing it for free. And if you haven't noticed, she's also funny. And so you're going to get both sides of that. So it's not something where you have to feel embarrassed or ashamed. It's supposed to be healing. And that is why I'm being so transparent. If I can help someone get themselves to the next level, then it was worth everything that we've been through. So I just wanted to tell you that, like, amazing. She's so witty. And not because she's my sister.
And y'all know, if you tuned in to episode 1, this is making me feel real good because words of affirmation is my love language. So I'm up here like, oh, I love my sister. But thank you for saying that. And I want to reiterate, you shouldn't have any shame. Like I started, I know all this information, right? I teach other people how to share this information in counseling, and I still mess up. Like I still fall into the same pitfalls as everyone else. Y'all are so sweet. So it's just kind of one of those things. It's human nature. But what happens when we don't work on it, when we don't bring it, we can let our human nature destroy our relationship because we begin to target our partner and we begin to think it's you. It's not human nature. It's because you're a bad person. You are no good woman. You are no good man. When it's not, it's just small things that we can change to build closeness. And I would say in almost every situation, you can improve your communication. There are only a few tricky ones when maybe your loved one has some type of personality disorder. Then it's not that you can't improve your communication, but you're definitely going to need the help of a licensed professional and some additional support.
Prayer. No.
Prayer. And that's I'm glad you said that because I wanted to mention that. even in the Bible, it's talking about communication. I can't remember the exact scripture, but there's a part about it's better to be, I think, in the small corner of the house, on the top of the roof, than to live with a contentious woman, right? All of those things, right? Don't let your their anger and all of these. There's so many good things in the Bible that will help you. Proverbs especially will help you with your communication. Be slow to speak. I'm messing up, but you know where I'm going, people. There are so many. So we want to do that piece. And definitely, marriage is a 3-strand cord, right? So it's you, your partner, and the Lord. Without him, none of these things are possible. And the enemy, just like the 4 horsemen of apocalypse, will come after and use these as areas to attack and break down that relationship. So thank you for sharing that, Trisha. What I want you, I hope you are seeing that we are trying to provide water, right? Because you plant, we water, and we want to know, what do you want to know? What things would you like us to talk about? How can I help provide water? How can Trisha help provide water? You can let us know anonymously. You can, is a DM?
You can
DM me.
direct message. DM, I'm proud of her for that. You can
DM.
DM, and that's why we created the page for you guys, so that you don't have to feel ashamed. We're trying to stop the stigmatism of counseling, because we all want to be healthy going into 2025, right? We want to make sure that we're living our best lives and doing the things that we can do to heal.
That part. Latrice, thank you so much for scripture. James 1:19. I want to highlight that. Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. For the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. Thank you, Latrice, right? And if you think about it, remember I told you I love when the science just backs up the Bible. Isn't that what the 4 horsemen just said? We want to be quick to hear, not speak, to listen, so that we can affirm and validate and show love, bring in those love languages. So even if you don't remember anything that I said today, because it is a lot and you might want to rewatch it, share it with your partner, right?
Share.
Do what I don't want you to do, because then you'd be moving into criticism. You can share it with them, but I don't want you to highlight their horsemen. Be like, look, you need to watch this because you do defensiveness and stonewalling. No. What I tell my couples when I tell them to pick, I do a game with them where we list the 4 horsemen, and I have them rank on a scale of 1 to 10, only their horsemen, right? So if I was doing it for myself, I might rank criticism an 8, because I know I do that one a lot or something like that. But I don't let them comment on the other person, because we all know where we need to grow. But share it with your partner. The truth is, I'm highlighting couple relationships, but we use these, we encounter these barriers and things when we're communicating with anybody, right? So you might see yourself doing it with your kids and things like that, and you can correct that. I wouldn't correct a child about the 4 horsemen, because your brain isn't fully developed until the age of 25. So they're just trying to learn and grow, but you be the adult and you do better, right? And ooh, my child come home from school and throw those clothes right at the front door. I'm ready to go into contempt, right? But don't. So I hope this has all been helpful. I want to remind you all that we have a retreat coming up, where you are going to get a chance to be in a room with other people who want to learn and grow, who want to water themselves, who want to live their best life, enhance their relationship, and get some one-on-one expert advice, benefit from all of these counseling techniques, bring them into your relationships so that, you can have the thriving, healthy, fulfilling relationship that God designed you for. Remember, you're fearfully and wonderfully made. And so you deserve to have love and to thrive and to just really try to live your best life.
That's what we want to do, live our best lives.
That part. So again, I want to thank my amazing co-host, Trisha Flowers, for joining me today. And I hope you feel like you've walked away with some tools you can use to improve communication. Thank you so much for joining us as You Plant, We Water, changing relationships one at a time. Love ya.